Dr. Josh Klapow. It is Tony Curry. Good morning to you. It's a Monday, September 13th. Absolute heaven this weekend.
Your big ass head.
Huh?
Your head's so big.
My head's too big?
You have a big head. I have to raise the camera up.
I think my head is. Someone brought up the point over the weekend that your ears and your nose never stop growing. I said, thanks. I know. I'm aware of that.
At least you got. I'm telling you, at least you got hair to cover it up. See, for me,
now.
No, you're not. You're not going to lose your. You're 50. You're not going to lose your hair.
There should be a lot of people lose their hair in their 50s.
No, who? You can go gray.
Yeah. Oh, there was great pictures of Drew Brees this weekend. Have you seen Drew Brees?
He's pretty bald.
New Orleans just hammered Green Bay Packers, which, by the way, I loved.
Aaron's just got his. He hasn't got his head straight. He's been distracted.
Well, yeah, no doubt.
It's
and
even at the pro
game season, he's like, and he played it off. I was like, this is one game, and I understand, that we're the number one seed. I understand that, but there was a lot of Green Bay Packer fans who were like, big baby, and he basically said over the weekend, they asked him what the deal was. And he said, listen, they brought in my successor.
Yeah.
And I was like, why? I'm not done yet. I'm not done yet. If you're bringing my successor, then you want him to be the quarterback. And if you want him to be the quarterback, then what the hell am I still doing here?
Yeah.
And he's like,
yeah, and I wanted to go.
Love. I mean, he was.
I don't have a problem with it.
It wasn't really a business thing. It was purely emotional.
Yes.
It'd be like if you're at work and you're the MVP.
Yeah.
Of the league.
Yes.
He was the number one player in the league.
Right.
And
go ahead.
They go out. And you're number one at IBM or number one at number one, and all of a sudden they bring in this guy.
Oh, I
who's
see
this younger guy, and you're like, what the hell are you bringing him in for? I saw it with Mel Kiper Jr. when they brought in Todd McShay.
Yeah.
And it's like, what are you bringing him in for? I'm the number one guy, and it created even more competition and made them both better.
Sometimes it makes them both better. So there's always, I hate that because there's this assumption that doing that.
You find out what you're made of.
No, but I see it in business. I disagree. I know a lot of coaches will say this. A lot of executives will say this. The assumption always is that you got your number one. You bring in someone on their tail who. It's one thing when there's an aged enough difference, experience enough difference. It's succession planning.
Yeah.
Look, you're going to be our number one. We want you to groom this person so that when you're done, this person will move in. You see it in companies all the time. That works when it's that way. But one of the hard things in sports and in industry is that's how it is. But if this person looks pretty good, you better watch it because they're not
going to say that.
What
you feel that as Aaron Rodgers, you feel that because you're like, wait a minute. I've won Super Bowls. I'm the MVP, and now you're bringing this guy who obviously is going to be my successor because I can't play forever, but you don't know how many more years I have left, so why are you bringing him in?
It's what their answer. See, that question, let's say he said that, he had that discussion, right? Because it's not a public.
It never works.
But I would love to know what their answer was.
Yeah.
Because their answer, there could have been the right answer. To me, the right answer is, you're the guy. You're there. Yes, we're bringing him in.
And you're here as long as you want to be.
Well, no. As long as you can keep performing.
Unless you've told me that next year's your last year.
Right.
Then I want to make that move. But unless I know, and I can think of two huge situations. Coaches in waiting never happen. Whenever you bring a coach in waiting,
right,
3-year contract, I'm done.
Yep.
And then the Jay Leno situation.
Yeah.
The Jay Leno situation was one of the ugliest in late television history when they brought in Conan. And they were like, okay, and I'm going to go 2 more years. And he was still on top of his game. And after those 2 years, like, you know what? I'm still on top of my game. No, I'm not leaving.
Right.
And it just got super ugly. And they restarted the deal with Jay Leno. No one wants to think that they're on the way out, particularly when they're still on top of their game.
Right.
And from a business standpoint, you have to be the ones to massage that emotion. Okay. But you also, as a business, have to think, okay, you're not going to be here. You're
and that's
guy.
okay.
You're not going to be here one day, and I have to set my business up for future success.
But that's again, it's the retire. Let's just use the retirement, the generic retirement. It can be done in a way. That says, look, we want you to groom this person so that when you're done, right? This person will be here. Now here's the caveat.
It happened with him.
No, but here's
Brett Favre.
Right. Here's the caveat. I mean, there's a caveat in sports and a caveat in business, and you put that on you put that on the table. Here's the deal, though. You think you can work another 5 years or 6 years. That's great, but we don't care how good this person is. If you can't keep up the way you've been, then we're going to have to revisit this.
Well, he got benched yesterday.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
It's
well, and benching is different. I mean, I get the benching, but benching.
They were down 35.
That's exactly.
Didn't make a difference.
If I yeah.
In a perfect world, 3 or 4 years ago, you draft a quarterback in the 3rd or 4th round because he was there. I've heard good things about him. We need a backup. If you get hurt, someone's going to play quarterback.
Right.
And you let it go and you let him learn.
Yes.
And Aaron Rodgers was that under Brett Favre. Remember,
Absolutely.
Aaron Rodgers was supposed to be a first-round guy and he fell like 22nd or whatever it was. Brett Favre, if I remember correctly, could care less. He was like, I'm the quarterback here. I could give a damn if you picked a quarterback or not. But he was available, and so they took him. But they weren't actively out there looking for a quarterback. Aaron Rodgers is there to like, this is crazy not to take the best player available. So they took him.
Yeah.
And he sat back for 3 or 4 years, and then eventually we knew that he was going to succeed. With this pick, they knew what they were taking. They knew why they were doing it, and it hurt his feelings.
Well, and he also said, okay, help me with the order of this. You know, he was saying, I want out. Before the pick?
No.
All of it came after the pick? You know what I'm saying? Like,
there was more to this than them just picking a first-round quarterback.
Yes, that's what I'm saying.
I don't know. As a football fan, I love Aaron Rodgers. As a football fan, he came across looking like a baby. He was also going through the whole Danica Patrick thing while they were doing OTAs. He doesn't know why. And listen, does he have to get OTAs? No. I mean, it's going to take him a couple of games to get back. Right. He's still one of the greatest quarterbacks I've ever seen, and he looked great when he was scouting, but they weren't all on the same page. And I think he's got some problems with LaFleur, his coach. I don't think they really get along a whole lot. I don't think he really respects him, and I don't think LaFleur respects Aaron Rodgers.
Listen, that happens. That's so. I find that absolutely.
It's just fun. It's just funny.
Well, it's interesting because we think but we think that's the whole thing. We think whether you're $1 million executive, multi-million-dollar athlete, or you're making $30,000 a year and your boss is making $50,000, or your boss is making $40,000, and you get crossways with them. Listen, I see more people in sports and in industry make the same statement. We gotta just take the emotion out of this. We gotta be logical. Just take the emotion out of this. It's all about how well you're playing and how well you're performing, and it's all about metrics. And it's look, if you can do your quarterback rate, and a guy like me goes, I literally laugh. I'm like, that you keep living that fantasy.
The reason why Kobe Bryant made $30 million his last year.
Yeah,
he wasn't worth $30 million.
No,
but
he's frippling Kobe Bryant.
You're like, gotta keep him happy. And
right.
Was it a good business decision? No, it was not a good business decision. But
well, now one would argue.
Look what he did for your program. You're paying him on his past success, and it was the last year, and you want to have a big hula ball, and you want to sell tickets to
well, and maybe Tony, maybe just from a PR standpoint, do you want to be seen as the you don't want to be seen as the organization that kicks the veteran to the curb, right? Because you want listen, you see this in companies all the time. People are watching. How do the executives go out? How does management go out? Do they force early retirement? Are you guaranteed anything, even the lower level? When people are looking for jobs, that's part of what they're looking for.
Can I tell you something? I can analogize this with college football and professional football all day long. Fans,
I know they don't care.
Fans don't know what they're talking about.
You're right.
They don't know, and I've done enough shows with Jay Barker. The most opined, and most lovely, most celebrated football player is always the backup quarterback, because when the prize quarterback and the good quarterback and the quarterback that's running the team's not doing well, everyone put the backup in, put the backup in. He's not getting it done. Put the backup.
Right.
Then the backup gets in there and throws 4 picks, and the fans just go away, and you don't hear from them. Well, we give it a shot. I've only seen a couple of coaches actually listen to social media and actually do what the fans want, and it's blown up in their face. Right. Fans don't know what the hell they're talking about.
Right.
You got the best of the best. You got quarterback coaches. You've got coaches.
Right,
you got
I know.
They know the situation. They're in with these guys every single day. They know what they're doing, and so I'm going to trust that. I'm not saying fans are always wrong.
No.
But to sit there and say, this guy sucks. We're seeing that with Justin Fields and Andy Dalton. I like Andy Dalton because he was a Cincinnati Bengals quarterback. He never won a playoff game, but he did take them to the playoffs several times. This poor son of a bitch is just done. I mean, Chicago Bears fans, he threw a pick in the end zone. He got booed on the road, which was unbelievable. They boo him at home because they want Justin Fields. They want this new guy.
That's
because
right.
They haven't had a quarterback in Chicago since Jim McMahon, and like they can't wait till him to start playing. And at least according to some of the talking heads, they're like, this is perfect. Because Andy may not be the greatest quarterback we've ever seen, but he can get the job done, and Justin needs to learn a little bit. And why are we going to throw this guy into the fire behind this line and let him get killed? Let Andy get killed.
Yeah.
Let Andy take all the shots and go, don't do that. Did you see what I just did out there? Don't do that.
That's true.
It's not good. I'm going to lose a bunch of games, but don't do that. And let Justin – and Aaron Rodgers, one of the reasons he's been so successful is because he held a clipboard for 3 years.
Yes.
So we got that. One team that didn't miss the beat, and I can't believe I'm saying this, Jameis Winston.
Well, you just said it takes people different amounts of time.
I'm friends with his dad.
Yeah.
I texted him yesterday. I said, your son looked great. He's like, thanks. And I was like, I've had dinner with him a couple. I'm like, maybe Jameis Winston's finally figured it out. Maybe he's just been around long enough and he's matured and he's gotten past all the past crap, and he looked fantastic, and I was like, wow, good for him. I know there was that quarterback competition there between him and the other dude who's a tight end. He's still a big part of their offense, but yeah, he looked fantastic. And there's Drew Brees. Have you seen pictures of Drew Brees? You need to pull a picture of him.
What's wrong?
He's got hair, a lot of it.
Now? He didn't before.
No, he was on television all day yesterday. He was on after the
He's got more?
Games. Oh, yeah.
Like hair transplant? Or like a piece?
I don't know. Maybe he's like, oh, no, it's just usually wet. When I
see, that's a good thing about football. If I was ever going to want to do like hair transplants, I'd have to start wearing a football helmet. Because that's the thing. You can't – I was trying to think if there's any sport – any profession where you're wearing a helmet all the time, then you could do hair transplants because it'd be hidden all the time.
Yeah. No, here's his hair right here.
Let me see.
He's got hair, dude.
Oh, that's a hair transplant or a piece. Yeah, that's a piece.
Do you think you want a piece?
That's either a piece or a hair transplant. I don't know. Because we've seen him before. He's a good-looking guy. Look, you're talking to a ball guy. Let me say one thing about the sports thing because you just said it and it just reinforced what I was saying. Number one, other than Tom Brady, we have to remember how young these guys are, guys and gals. Yep. We watch them. I think we all lose sight of how young they are because they're talented. They've been in, we call them a veteran. They've been in the league or they're 6 years. Okay, well now they're 28, right? Mm-hmm. So you use Jameis Winston as an example, and this goes back to what I'm saying. Is he learning more about how to play football? Sure, because at the pros, a different level, there's a thing. But he's also he's changing psychologically. He's changing emotionally. Like, I don't know. You have to include that in the equation. It's not just about the football.
Yep.
It's about, in fact, I'd probably argue that while there are new nuances in your learning and it's about learning how to deal with the pressure in the pocket. When you say about pressure in the pocket, that's the other thing. Pressure in the pocket is in part completely a psychological cognitive thing. I mean, yes, you got to be able to move your body, but it's a psychological, emotional thing. It's how do you deal with rejection? How do you keep yourself from doing stupid stuff? And we have to remind ourselves as fans that most of these sports, they come in at age 20-ish to 30-ish, right, on average. Well, your frontal cortex doesn't stop developing until about mid-20s.
Yep.
Like that, we it's almost like your kid.
Yeah.
Why are you doing that stupid stuff? Oh, well, they're college kids. We do it all the time. And I think, I wonder if Jameis Winston, he matured later than some of the other players.
The only quarterback to ever have 30 touchdowns and 30 picks in the same season. I think the Aaron Rodgers thing, and obviously if you're not a Green Bay Packer fan, there's a lot of Packer fans down here in the South. You had a good laugh yesterday because you're like, I'm never going to bet against Aaron Rodgers.
No.
But it does come across.
Do you think he threw it?
Huh?
You think he threw it? No. He just his head's in the place.
No, but I mean, we think that because you're making all this money and that you've got a Super Bowl and you've been an MVP, that you have no emotions. You can't be a baby. And we saw.
Well, now you're calling baby.
Well, we saw that. We saw that with New England and Tom Brady. New England decided to make a business decision.
Yep. It's not personal. It's business.
Robert Kraft is a businessman.
Yep.
No one, and I said this 3 years ago. I said Tom Brady will not finish his career.
I remember.
And everyone laughed at me. They're like, "You're full of crap. He will be a New England Patriot till he dies." I'm like, "No, he won't," because I'm just telling you. And he looks like he's having more fun right now. He's playing more free. He looks fantastic. Than he's ever looked with the New England Patriots. Now he did a lot more with him. But I'm telling you, you get to the point where, from an emotional. The other thing I think is really interesting is Aaron Rodgers was shopping himself, or at least I thought he was. And I'm wondering maybe if there weren't a lot of takers because he was coming across as a baby. And as a Packers fan, I would think they're kind of like, okay, we still got Aaron Rodgers, so I know we're still good. But right now, it's Super Bowl or bust. And he said it. If he doesn't get them to a Super Bowl, we could have been working on building up Jordan Love on our next quarterback in our system. Aaron Rodgers obviously has a lot left in the tank. I'm not saying he's playing till 45 like Tom Brady is. But, I mean, you still got your guy. But after watching that game yesterday, you're like, it better get better quick.
Well, yeah. And it's interesting. You call him a baby.
He came across looking like that's the only thing I can think of.
No. It's not a good analogy. I get it.
They picked a quarterback. And, they weren't going to start Jordan Love this year.
Right.
Eventually, you're not going to last forever. And so, for me, it's got to be, speaking of cognizance, it's got to be something for him to think, okay, I know I'm not going to last forever.
Right.
And he's one of these muscle heads that probably says, I'm going to play it on 45. But the only guy you don't do that with is Tom Brady.
Right. And the only reason you don't do that is because he's the only one who's done that.
But if Tampa Bay drafts a quarterback this next year in the first round, they won't because their record's going to be too good. Tom Brady's not sitting.
No. Well,
he's not going,
but you know what?
I brought you 2 Super Bowls. I'm going to win another Super Bowl.
Yeah.
He's not a baby. He's so secure in himself and what he's accomplished.
That's not why he's not sitting, though. He's not sitting because...
but he's not going to sit there and...
What if he did? No, what if they did sit him? Would he just be fine with it?
And start another quarterback?
Yeah.
Oh, hell no.
Well, that's what I'm saying. So would he be a baby?
It wouldn't happen to Tom Brady.
Why?
It'll never happen to Tom.
Why? You can't say why. What if he starts acting like Aaron?
First of all, Tom will never play like Aaron did yesterday. It just doesn't happen. It won't happen. He's had bad games. He'll take himself out. I'm down by 30. I'm done. I mean, it happened one game last year. I'm
Do we know that Aaron didn't do it?
Huh?
Do we know that Aaron didn't take himself out?
No, I think he probably did.
Yeah.
I thought Coach probably came and said.
But you see what I'm saying? Look at the difference. But look at the difference. What we're going on.
Aron just came across looking like a baby.
Nope. Yes, because of their personas.
Yeah.
This is so important. How you act to the rest of the world, even if this is the intention thing. Aaron Rodgers' style, even if he was not trying to do it, he portrayed himself as frustrated, pouting, sullen, whining. Mm-hmm. Okay, but the intention may have been right, and like you said in the game, he may have taken himself out, but because he did all those other things, we're like, see, you screwed up, and you're a baby. So you're saying Tom Brady wouldn't. But Tom Brady's got a persona. We don't know what's behind it. We don't know Tom Brady. And everybody who says, I don't care how much of a fan you are, I'll say it again and again, you don't know Tom Brady or any other football player unless you know them personally.
And I think as a fan, and I've got a good friend of mine lives up in Milwaukee. He's like, screw Aaron Rodgers. He doesn't like the fact that Aaron Rodgers is being successful in other things. He thinks he's the greatest quarterback he's ever seen. He still loves him. He's got all his memorabilia hanging on the walls. But he didn't like the fact that he was on Jeopardy. He didn't like the fact that he was in the news with
NIL?
With Danica Patrick.
Making a business?
Yeah, I mean, he just...
Get over it.
Yeah.
Get over it.
I know. But he does.
I understand.
He wants it to be a Green Bay all day, every day. Yep. I want to see you doing things for the Green Bay Packers. Sell sausage for Green Bay. And I don't want you to be... And then while he's out frolicking in Hawaii and doing these things while
now you're right. It does that is a PR
because you put a lot more pressure on yourself to come back, and you better play lights out.
Well, and that's only an issue if your friend represents X number of people who have season tickets. Yep. Otherwise, you know what? Well, nobody cares.
Green Bay Packers is a publicly owned company,
right?
And they're much like, well, Green Bay, the Green Bay organization will always be bigger than any one player.
Yeah.
And so they're like, screw you. You don't want to be here? Go. And once he said, I'm sitting out, I'm looking around, that was enough for a lot of people to go, fine. Go win a Super Bowl, appreciate you, but you're no longer going to be hanging on my walls, or I'm not buying your jerseys anymore. Could you imagine if they brought in
Tom Brady?
No, what's going to happen with the whole Nick Saban thing?
But when he goes,
69, I think.
What do you mean? If they brought in who?
They're going to have to start thinking. Okay.
Oh, a successor.
I would not think that Alabama's going to wait. Now they're not going to bring a coach in waiting. And on any given time, there's 17 guys on the staff that can coach a football.
Hang on. How do you know? How do you know that there's not a coach in waiting?
Boy, he's the one bringing the coaches in.
That's what I'm saying. That's called succession planning.
He's bringing his people in. Now, on occasion, we've seen people bring in these coaches in waiting. I think, what was it? Jimbo Fisher was brought in.
Yeah,
and it didn't work out. It's like it's not going to happen.
No, what you do is you do exactly what you just said. Nick Saban. It's the same thing I said. You can't do it in drafts, but you say to Nick Saban, all right.
Do you think Nick Saban hangs it up and doesn't tell anybody at the end of a year, or do you think he says this is going to be my last year?
I think he puts a lot into place before he ever says anything.
Yeah.
Right. So I think whether he's got again he's like you said, he's got so many people floating around there that you don't know if any one of them he brought in to see, hey, look, not this year, not next year, maybe the next year.
Yeah.
Right? And that's
but do you think he plays his last? Do you think he coaches his last game and says, "I've decided to hang it up," or do you think he comes out ahead?
Oh, I see.
I'm going to coach one more year, and then
I think either way. Well, he's not screwed.
He's got to go out. He's got to go out without telling anybody.
Well, yeah, it's a mic drop moment. Yeah. People are going to be listen. I can't believe I'm comparing this.
It's going to change.
You know, it's comparing this to.
There's going to be a lot of people go, "Thank you."
This is. You know what this is? This is. I can't believe I'm comparing this. This is like the difference between someone dropping dead and somebody who's got a terminal illness, and you get to say your goodbyes.
Nice.
It's true, isn't it? Isn't it? So if Nick Saban goes at the last part, they win the college championship. They win the championship again.
Yeah.
And he's in his presser, and he's got the Coke bottle there, and he's got the same face on, because I don't think he'll change his face. And he goes, "It's been a great ride. I'm out."
Yeah.
The world, it would be like someone keeling, it would be like a loved one just keeling over.
Yeah.
The entire Alabama nation, the sports world would be in complete shock. Nobody would say anything for like 10 seconds, right?
Maybe that's why Texas and Oklahoma got in. They're like, it can't last forever. Let's go to the SEC and show them what those former Big 12 teams are like.
He's 16. Right. Yeah, I know.
Everyone.
Well, but now, listen. So now you get it really interesting, the Nick Saban legacy.
I'm saying 72.
Let's go here. God, I love this show. Let's go here. So he has built a dynasty, a process. He has built an organization that has logistics and operations, quality checks. He has built it from top to bottom, not by himself, but he has created one of the most successful businesses. It has from the top to the bottom, from mission statements and vision statements and how those things are translated, and it has performed year after year after year. It's always that same question. Is it the CEO themselves, or is it the CEO and what they have created? Mm-hmm. Because if it is what they created, then they should be able to bring somebody else in who still has to be talented and all the thing, and it shouldn't fall apart. So technically, I could see Nick Saban saying, "We have built this thing. I feel good about it. It has a track record, and we have brought so and so in, who is now going to lead this organization." It's succession planning. You see all the time. To me, the biggest question is, and is it on the is it private and it's quiet and you make the announcement, or you make it early?
Yeah.
I think you don't. I think you make it. Well, see, but people will speculate too. Somebody's going to be in there. Somebody's going to be in there. And
right now, there's Alabama fans saying, "Please stop talking about this because we don't want to think about the day." I think he makes.
You need to. He's 69 years old. He's not going to go till he's 80. Well, he could.
No, I think about 72.
Why 72? Just because he's done?
Because I do think he's done it. He's done it at a high level, and I think he wants to spend some
time. Does he have grandkids?
Yeah.
He does?
Well,
yeah. I mean, that's the other thing. Listen, that's the other thing that I think we forget, but we have to.
They're people too. They're human.
Well, they are, and I mean they are.
Yeah. Speaking of being human,
okay, here we go.
got to mention this because I just got a text a few minutes ago. Why aren't you talking about the UAB game this weekend?
Because it's too
disturbing. I tweeted out at halftime. I said I can't imagine what Bill Clark is saying to his football team right now, because they just absolutely got roughshod. I mean, it was just ugly. As ugly as it possibly could be, even if you were a 50-point dog. They were a 26-point dog in that game. I didn't think they were going to win. I thought they could keep it close for a half because whenever you have a great defense, you can keep games close for at least a half, and then you tire out, and then the depth starts to come into play. But when you are playing a team like Georgia coming off a game where obviously you saw how good their defense was offensively, you're just kind of going, not against us, please, hold on.
Yeah.
And then JT was out, so you're thinking backup quarterback. Everything was pointing towards a UAB good showing.
Yep.
And they couldn't get out of their own way.
No.
I mean, they were making mistakes left and right. It was just, I mean, it got to the point where, and at halftime, you're like, let's just go home. And I said, Bill Clark's probably in there right now, having known Bill. Hey, listen, that was horrible.
Stop.
We'll look at it on Monday.
Right.
But we're going to go out there and play the best damn 30 minutes we can play in the second half. And we're going to set our sights on North Texas next week, and I'll see what happens.
Yeah.
And then the second half started, and it was as bad as the first.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
And it was hard as a UAB fan. And we had Mark Ingram on, the athletic director. We can get him on again this week. You go into games like this where sometimes it almost feels better to know you have no shot.
Yeah.
Because then you're not expected to do anything.
That's exactly.
In a 70-0
Dude,
game.
I told you.
When you
that's
feel
what
like you're
I
up
said.
and coming.
Yes.
And you're like, okay.
Yeah.
It's like moving from 4A to 5A.
That's exactly.
Let's see what we're made of. And then you get totally beat down. You're like, okay, we're not ready for this shit yet.
Yes.
This ain't us yet.
No. Right.
Not to take away from anything that UAB has done. And RG3, by the way, was calling the game. He was the color commentary, and he just was going out of his way to talk about how bad UAB looked all day long. UAB fans hate RG3. He's like, yeah, UAB, I mean, they were da-da-da-da-da-da, throwing. Well, they've been to 3 bowl games, and they've won championships 2 the last 3 years, and they was just, they're not ready for this. They weren't. And listen, I don't know if Georgia was just pissed off. Yeah. I don't know what it was, but it was, and they played, but it was really difficult to watch.
Well, so let me ask you this. I mean, I know what your answer is going to be because I think it's my answer.
Sometimes you just get your ass whipped.
Well, but
and
because
you call it a night.
Right. So Georgia comes in, obviously is a much better team.
Yeah.
UAB has a chance to play really well, and whether it's to cover the spread, to get close, to win something. But you need UAB to play at the very least really good. I'm saying at the very least, right? Because I don't at that
control what you can control.
Well, I hate that whole you got to play your best game, whatever.
But you got to control what you can control.
Right. So
turnover, stuff like that. Yeah.
So right. So that they as a team, they forget who they were playing. I guess that's my point. Forget who they were playing. If they just played the way they played, Coach Clark would say, y'all played like crap.
They would have lost to anybody.
That's kind of what I'm saying.
They would have lost North Texas. They would have lost to Jacksonville State. I mean, Jacksonville State beats FSU.
Right.
So, I mean, you just beat a team 31-0, and then just beat FSU.
But that's exactly, you know what that is? That is, you knew there was going to be, in the beginning of the game, you see in basketball, you see everything, it's that initial onslaught. It's that, oh my God. Like you go in prepared, you're prepared, mentally you're ready, and then it just comes after you. Basketball, they dunk on you 6 times, and you're like, okay, we got to get, and they didn't. They were not able to, they were discombobulated. Mm-hmm. They were not able to pull it together enough to bring them back to where they need to be. And I think, again, if I'm Coach Clark, that's exactly what I'm saying. I'm saying forget the score, forget who you played, Look at the film on how you played. You didn't play the way you play. And so now, so I was texting you, I know they got sports psychologists. What happened? What happened up here? Because it wasn't, we know you can play better. What happened up here? Did you lose trust in each other? Was it poor communication?
Good.
Did it get in your head? Let's be honest. And if I'm talking, let's be honest. Did it get in your head? Did you get out of sorts because they were so good and they kept beating you that you lost your game? Because that's where if athletes will be honest with themselves, that's where they get to overcome stuff like that. Yep, I lost it.
If you were called in to go to UAB, this is what you would say to them?
Yeah, absolutely. And I would look the player in the eye and say, because it's completely confidential. And
let's play this game. Let's go.
Yeah.
You're talking to the UAB football
team. I'm
going
to say, it is hard in a group to get each one of them to admit where their heads were at. Yeah. But what I would do, and again, I'm assuming this is exactly, when I text you, this is what Coach Clark likely did. Forget who he played. Forget who he played. Forget what the score is. Let's look at the film. How did we play as a team on our own? We played like crap, which is going to happen.
Yep.
Now it's going to happen. We're going to have crappy games. Now let's figure out why we played like crap. Was it X's and O's, right? Well, we weren't connecting. We weren't thinking, okay, let's go a step deeper. Why weren't we connecting? What happened? Well, he wasn't saying this and he wasn't running his routes. Okay, let's go a step deeper. Why did that not happen? It happened last week.
Yep.
Let's talk about it. Were you distracted? He wasn't, I couldn't trust him.
Yep.
I couldn't trust him today. Well, why couldn't you trust him today? Let's get to the root of this. And usually what the root of it is there was so much going on, there was so much pressure that they got out of their game, and despite everyone's best effort, when I'm telling you this, you got out of your game and you couldn't figure out mentally how to get back into your game.
Yep.
You were thrown out of your game. And A, that happens. B, that is the difference between you becoming a great athlete and a less than great athlete. Great athletes get thrown out of their game and are able to come back to their game even if they don't perform at the highest level. But where you see the shellacking is in a situation like this where they can't. And particularly as a team, if it happens to one player, fine. If it happens to three players, fine. This was a collective, we got out of our game. And my message to him is, you saw it happen. That happened to you. So the next time that you're playing, whether it's a Georgia or anybody else, and you start having that feeling, it is your job to say to yourself and to your teammate, let's get back to our game.
Yep.
Let's get back to our game. Because there's not a whole lot of things you can say. And once you get past the X's and O's, and I see this in athletes a lot, they're yelling at each other about, or they're frustrated, you didn't pass, you didn't do. Let's just admit what's on the table right now, which is we're pissed and we're freaked out, and that's taking us out of our game. Freaked out, not scared, is taking us out of our game. So we know what the X's and O's are. Let's put on the table what it is, which is you're frustrating me, I'm frustrating you. Okay, great, fine. You're frustrated, you're on the same team, we move forward. Those kind of conversations, they happen on the sidelines. They happen sometimes with the head coaches, special teams coaches. It's not a sports psychologist. It is usually, you start with X's and O's, and then it goes to what's going on if you know your X's and O's. And it's an emotional thing, it's a distraction thing, it's a freaked out thing.
We have a new segment called Lockeroom Talk that we're going to do.
Oh, that's nice.
We'll do that. I'll pick a particular game because I know how much you love sports. We'll pick a particular game, an instance maybe in a game or an overall game atmosphere, and I'll let you tackle it and what you'd say to the football team, because from a sports psychologist standpoint, you are a sports psychologist.
Can I tell you what I said just about the UAB game? I'm very embarrassed to say this because I was in a place I wasn't able to watch the game. I was watching digitally the scores.
Yeah.
I was like, all right, 0-0. Oh, we're good. Okay, it's 7.
It was 7-0.
Right, so right, that was, and it's going, and it's going.
That scared me because I was like, because they were going bombs.
It was 28, and then this is so bad.
They had 5 bombs in the first half.
It was, I think it was, what was their score at halftime? 35-7? No, 28-7?
It was 35. I don't
know. So I thought, I'm watching, I'm like, oh, good. Look, the numbers aren't changing. We're doing good. And then I looked, I didn't notice.
It was 42 right off. I was like,
no, I didn't notice. Oh, we're in halftime.
Yeah.
That's why the numbers won't change.
Yeah. It was tough to watch.
Okay.
And again, like I said, we had Mark on and we were talking about, Tough uphill climb. First time the Sanford Stadium was full. First time they had tailgating. I mean, it was packed.
You couldn't have had any. Yeah.
And I'm thinking to myself. Some people think they're not. UAB is not creeping up on anybody, which is a great thing. UAB used to be that creeper team because if they did have a good showing, and LSU knows about this from 10, 15 years ago. But that's the one thing about UAB now. They won college conference championships. They're not creeping up on people. They're not going to be taken lightly anymore, and Georgia did not take them lightly because they're ready to go.
Exactly.
And this is not, Mercer or Savannah State or one of these smaller
Alabama State.
D2 school, Alabama State. It's not one of these smaller schools where you're not going to creep up on them. And UAB's had a lot of success, and so they realized that and they saw it. They did have a really nice piece about what happened because they have to go through the whole chronological. Program shut down. Six players went home. They didn't mention anything about the new stadium, which I thought
was really interesting. Yes,
I'm like, dude, that's probably one of the best parts of what's going on. And just from a sports psychology standpoint, and Bill doesn't have to say this. We lost the game. We learned something here. It was the number 2 team in the land, maybe one of the best teams right now. It's Alabama, Georgia, and everyone else. But we still have everything to play for.
Absolutely.
It wasn't a conference game. We're going to have
absolutely
get back together, and now I want to see how they respond this next week against North Texas and see how that goes. Another team that's pretty decent at a conference play. I want to see how it goes. If they come out lights out, then I'm like, okay, the world is good.
So the thing is, you never want to lose a game, but those are great opportunities. Coaches will tell you those are great opportunities. When they say, you learn what you're made of, it's you learn what you're made of physically, but you really are learning what you're made of mentally. That is the mental part and it's the hardest part of being an elite athlete. It's the hardest part. And I mean, and you see this happen a lot. You see this when, in basketball games when it's 84-30, right? They're falling apart. And you as a coach, it's an interesting thing. Do you pull people out? Do you put people, you want the thing to end, but you have to use those moments. Some of the greatest coaches, I've worked with mostly basketball and volleyball, some of the greatest coaches, they're using those moments to, not after the fact, but in those moments. Okay, here's what's happening. Okay, here's what's happening. You're getting killed because mentally you're not playing your game. You're getting killed more because mentally you're not playing your game.
Yeah, no doubt. All right. I think that UAB, we talked about them. Could they make it to the Big 12? They're not at the point where they're a Cincinnati or BYU. They're not at that point yet. But they are kind of that Liberty from last year.
Yeah.
That UCF from a couple of years ago that went undefeated. A Coastal Carolina.
Yes.
That's a top 25 team. You're like, you can get there. You'll get there. And certainly with the opening of the new stadium, that's going to help recruiting and everything else. I think they'll be on their way. Talk about one of our great sponsors here, and then we'll get some classic rock tunes. And then we'll get back into the biggest parenting taboo, which we got into the first hour. Is it okay? And we're going to throw out love, because should you love one more child than the other, you love them differently, okay? But is it okay to admit that you like one of your children more than you like one of the other children? Is it okay to tell somebody and admit that? We'll talk about that after you talk about
one thing that you need to admit is if you're a male that you have a prostate. And you need to admit that you may be scared to take care of your prostate.
Yes.
It's Men's Prostate Cancer Awareness Month. We had Cleet Walker, the CEO of Vituro Health, and he did a wonderful job explaining what Vituro Health does. Vituro Health is there to do two things: to develop new treatments for prostate cancer, including one potentially that can be done in a doctor's office. Number two, to educate men and give them a place where if they have been diagnosed with prostate cancer and their urologist goes over the treatment options and they want to learn more, they can go to VituroHealth.com. They can call Vituro Health and say, what else is out there for me? And Cleet Walker and Vituro Health are on a mission to help men be cancer-free, and if they develop cancer, to have it treated, and treated in a way that uses cutting-edge technology. Go to their webpage today. It's, again, Cleet Walker, CEO. The company is Vituro Health. Webpage, VituroHealth.com.
All right. Great show today. Thank you for watching on Facebook Live. We'll do it again tomorrow. Talked a lot of college football today. Did you like that? I like that new segment.
Well, you know me. I love this stuff.
Is there a Locker Room Doc? Is that good? Locker Room Doc?
Locker Room Doc.
All right, we'll do Locker Room Doc every Monday morning.
Love it.
Here on KCast Radio. Dr. Josh, you should be in a locker room somewhere. Make sure you wear a cup next time you come in Monday.
Okay.
All right. Thank you. And download the KCast Radio app. The KCast Radio app. It's free. Costs you nothing. It's classic rock the bone 24/7. It's killer. Check it out.